Everybody. How are you doing? Purpose of this screencast is threefold. First, I'm going to tell you all about the Treaties Project. Second, I'm doing it as a screencast because let's face it, you guys tend to listen more to something coming from a virtual screen and a virtual space than you do to me blah blah blahing at the front of the room. Third, you can come back and rewatch this anytime you want in order to get an overview of the project. So I'm going to use 2.3's classroom page. This is also on 4.7's, and you got a bunch of things on here that are helpful. So students will complete a presentation on one of the three main treaties signed between the Dakota and the U.S. government. You have the Treaty of 1805, Treaty of Mendota, Treaty of Traverse des Sioux. These are the three main treaties. These are the starter slides, and what that means is when you click on it, it's going to make a copy for you, and then you and your partners can then use that to make your final product. So if I am in a group of three and I have the Treaty of 1805, I would click on this, and then I would just share that single one with my other two partners. All three of us don't need to open one. Here is a reading for the 1805 treaty. Here is the reading for the Traverse des Sioux treaty. Here is the reading for the Treaty of Mendota. And then this is a link to the web page on the course website that will give you some more information. There's also examples on there. But let's get started. So I'm going to use 1805. I'm going to open that up. I'm also going to open up the Treaty of Traverse des Sioux because I'm going to bounce back and forth between the two of them. So this is has all the information you're going to need. So I'm going to imagine I'm in a group of three and I'm doing the Treaty of 1805 with two other people. Description, well, I'm making a 4 to 6 slide presentation. Right? And it's all about a Minnesota treaty between the U.S. government and the Dakota. And the presentation is going to focus on some of the background, so what led up to the treaty. Conditions of the treaty, that means what did the treaty say? And then aftermath, how did the treaty impact the U.S. government? How did it impact any European Americans coming into Minnesota or living in Minnesota? How did it impact the Dakota or any native people living in Minnesota? And then before you create your presentation, you receive a source from your teacher. So I'm going to be giving you those sources, and I already pointed them out on the classroom page. So learnings, here's what you're going to learn. Students will explain the motivations different groups had for signing treaties. Students will outline what happened during the negotiations of the Treaty of 1805, the Treaty of Traverse des Sioux, and or the Treaty of Mendota. Students will explain the results and impact of these three important treaties. Finally, practice note-taking and using outline form. Audience for your presentation. Classmates, you're going to show your work here in class and actually present it, and people are going to take notes on what you say. Middle school, these will be put up on the board or the video screen that's up in the Middle School Commons website. I put all the presentations up on the website and on the classroom page. So lots of people will see your work. Here's the grading system. 5 points. Yes, this is perfect all the time. You can get 6 for exceeding expectations too. Keep that in mind. 4 points. Almost there. Proficient. 3 points. Kind of. Less than satisfactory. 2 to 1 points. You're still working on things, but it's there. Kind of. 0 points is something is missing. And then there's a lot of things that are just out of 1 point only, and that's a yes or no situation. You either got it or you don't. Like, do you have an image on your slide? Yes or no. Grading, so research. First thing you're going to be doing is gathering information. Are the notes complete and thorough? Are the notes accurate? Are they paraphrased, and do you use outline form? And those will be put out of 5 points each. Grading, this is on the writing. The presentation slides include an appropriate title. That's a yes or no situation. The text in the presentation uses complete sentences, so you need to be making sure you do this. The text uses accurate grammar and writing mechanics, so you're paying attention to capitalization, commas, and in punctuation, working together to do that. The content is complete, at least 3 bullets per slide. You're probably going to have more, to be honest, and not having a problem getting more. The content is accurate, so it is factual, and the ideas in the text are organized. So when I read through it or your classmates receive your presentation, they're like, this makes sense. It's in a logical order. Appearance of your slide, a lot of yes, no's here. The font size or content is 18 or larger. The reason it has to be 18 is so we can see it on that board in the Commons. So information has to be 18 font size or larger. Titles are 28 to 30 each, and those are what comes across the top, of course. Each slide uses a quality image, so it's not fuzzy. So let's use about 500 by 500 or larger so that you have a good resolution. The images enhance the information on the slide. If you're telling me about the Treaty of Traverse des Sioux and you're showing me pictures that have, from, I don't know, Fort Snelling or the movie Ferris Bueller or something like that, you're totally off topic. So you want to be enhancing our knowledge with the slide you show, or with the image you show. The visual information is organized and balanced. So you need to look at your slides and make sure that it is communicating what you want in the easiest way possible. Please use the examples that I do all the time in class. You want balance, you want symmetry, image, text, not text over here, text over here, text over here, a little image in the middle. That's distracting. You don't want to distract people. You want them just to focus on what you're saying. The visual information is consistent. So between slides, the font style is the same. The font size is the same. Images are roughly the same size and quality. And you have the same organization. Text on the left, image on the right, title across the top, from slide to slide. Collaboration's huge on this project. You're working in groups of 3. So a group member consistently stays focused. So you're not goofing around, you're working with your group mates, focused on the task. You're contributing as much effort as you possibly can. You're pulling on the tug-of-war rope. You're not taking a break and letting the other 2 pull harder on the rope than you. Helped her group meet deadlines. So you're going to meet your own deadlines, fulfill your own roles, and make sure that you're turning in things on time. Followed through on assigned tasks and did not depend on others to do your work. You're not falling short on something and somebody else has to pick up the slack. So you're only doing 20% and the other group members are doing the remaining 80, so 40 each. Not fair, right? And then you're respectful. So when you're interacting with each other, if you have a disagreement on something, you figure out a way to solve it where you're being diplomatic and respectful of each other's insights and thoughts. Presentation. Somebody's going to be presenting this, maybe all 3 of you. You need to speak loudly. You got to speak at an even pace. You got to look at us, the audience, not at each other or at the screen. Refrain from using distracting behavior. You're there to communicate information. You're not making it about you. A lot of people may choose, and they should, use note cards. So have something in your hands so that you can look down at that so you don't need to look back at the screen. And then divide the workload evenly. So if you have a single presenter, make sure it's clear that the other people maybe did something else to help out earlier on. But usually groups kind of divide it evenly so everybody speaks about the same amount. So practice your presentation. You'll have a little bit of time to do that. Okay, organization. You're working in groups of 3. Generally, you want to break up your group of 3 into 3 different roles. You have a reader, a note taker, and a designer. So the reader is going to do most of the reading. Note taker is going to be gathering that information, doing the typing. Designer is going to be looking at the slide, gathering images, making sure it's 18 font for the text, body text, and 24 to 30 font for the titles, choosing the colors, maybe any visual effects like having things appear, etc. If there is a disagreement, rock, paper, scissors is the easiest way to solve it, but I'm sure you all can work that out. Okay, step 1, this is huge. You're going to familiarize yourself with the treaty. So you're going to receive from me a paper copy of your assigned treaty. You're going to divide the reading so everybody reads once, and you're going to find a nice quiet space to do this. And then you're going to take 5 minutes then you're going to read you're going to read your treaty to the group. So everybody has an understanding or overview of what the heck the treaty is before you actually start gathering information. You're not taking notes on this, you're just listening and reading. And then when you're done, take 5 minutes to answer or discuss the following questions. So as a group, after you've read over the treaty and its, the background, its aftermath, what was happening before the treaty was even made necessary? What was going on in Minnesota? What led up to it? What did the treaty say? What did the U.S. government get? What did the Dakota get or receive? And then, how did the treaty impact the Dakota? How did it impact what would become the state of Minnesota? So these are questions that after you're done reading, you and your group members need to answer and discuss so that you understand your treaty at least on a pretty good level before you jump in and start taking notes. So gathering information. Now here's where it gets a little different. If you have the Treaty of 1805, you're using the Northern Lights textbook, pages 101 to 103. When you're taking notes, you're using outline form. You're taking notes directly on the slides, and I'll show you that in a second. Use one slide for each paragraph from the source. I have already provided enough slides that match the paragraph number. So when you're done with a paragraph, you move to another source. You move to another slide to take notes on. Divide the work evenly between the reader and note takers. Make sure everybody's taking part in this process. Now, if I'm doing the Treaty of Traverse des Sioux or the Treaty of Mendota, you'll see that here's your source. There's a link here that's going to take you to it. I hope these links still work. If they don't work, the links are here as well. So Treaty of Traverse des Sioux, Treaty of Mendota. So you can come back to this. All right. Here, the pink are the slides you are taking notes on. This just gives you an overview of what notes should look like. Subtopic, you have your topic, subtopic, detail, subtopic, detail, subtopic, detail. And you can see the structure. It kind of has this overview umbrella structure. Here's an example. What foods do we eat? Well, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then you can see details about dinner. Appetizer, main course, dessert, between 5 and 7 p.m. Home, restaurant. These are places you might eat it. So use this to structure your notes. Come back to this and look at this and say, hey, what should our outline notes look like? Well, here you go. Here's a pretty simple example. So if I'm doing the Treaty of 1805, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 paragraphs to read. And on the first paragraph, I'm going to take my notes and put it here. I got to figure out the name of the topic. I need to figure out what the subtopics are. I need to figure out what the details are. If I take a note and I need a detail, I can add a detail to it just by doing that. So you just type right over this. Don't leave subtopic and detail in there. Don't leave the word topic in there. Just get rid of it when you add what you're putting. Also, don't change the font here. Don't make it crazy colors. This is just, the purpose of this is to get notes out. You can do more of the design work on the actual slides. So paragraph 1, I'm taking notes here. Once we get to paragraph 2, oh, it says 2. I have probably a new topic. I'm going to have some new notes. You may have less than 3 notes to take or less than 3 subtopics. You can get rid of one of these if you need to. Once you've taken all your notes, well, then you're ready to organize the information. So you're going to create at least 4 slides. Some groups have gone up to 6 slides because they want to add information, which is fine. And here's the 4 slides that you're organizing your information into. A background slide, the story of the treaty negotiation, so that's actually what went on during the treaty, the results and conditions of the treaty, that means what happened as a result of the treaty, and then finally aftermath, how did it impact the groups that were involved. And then you're ready to publish and present. So you have some final things here. Select an image that complements the information. Make sure your titles are good in size. Make sure you have 18 font. You're using complete sentences. Mendez trick is this: students will, and then I finish off the sentence. Each time, students will, select, students will, use, students will, use, students will, check. So this is a way that you can have a starter sentence and then you use the bullets. That's called the Mendez trick. Okay, I'm sure lots of other people use it too. And then checking for errors in grammar and writing mechanics. When you present this to your group and it goes up on the screen in the Commons, you don't want to have your name on something with a bunch of grammar and spelling errors. So that's up to you to make sure that that's solved. And then here are the slides. So here's the background slide. I have a question that gets it set up for you. But this is up to you what it's going to look like. You can change the color, change the fonts, do whatever you need to do, change the arrangement. Here's where you want to put the story of the treaty negotiations. You might want to split this up and actually add another slide that's part of this. So you could just copy paste it and make another slide. So now you have two because the information overflows. That's fine to do. Then you have results of the treaty. Let the question guide your thinking for that. And then the aftermath of the treaty, which is how it impacted groups. So you can see you're actually making your presentation starting right here. Now you probably want to add a title slide to this as well. So I'm telling groups they probably want to add a slide up front here that gives a title to theirs. And usually what most groups do is they take this, they make that into the title, and then they slide it down and make that the title to their presentation. Okay, if you have any questions at this point, Mr. Mendez will take those questions. Otherwise, that is a quick overview of what you are doing. So the next step now, just so we're 100% clear, after taking questions, is we jump to step 1, and that's where you're going to be receiving the paper copy, going with your group, dividing up the reading, and getting us started as fast as possible is simply reading over the treaty, or at least an interpretation of the treaty that's kind of written for 6th graders, and making sure you all understand what the treaty was all about. All right, any questions, please raise your hand.